Hey everyone. So if you're wrangling cloud infrastructure, I'm willing to bet you're losing money in a place you might not even be looking. We're going to pull back the curtain on one of the biggest, quietest budget killers out there, disk storage. And, more importantly, we'll see how a tool called Cloudshot can put a stop to it automatically. All right, let's get into it.
You've seen the headlines, right? Cloud costs are just going up and up. But here's a question for you. Are your teams really focused on the right things? I mean, it's so easy to get laser-focused on optimizing your compute instances, and that's great. But what if there's an even bigger problem just hiding right under your nose?
So take a look at a typical cloud bill. It actually tells a really interesting story. Now, most teams, and for good reason, are completely obsessed with optimizing compute. But look at this slice right here. See how big that is? That's storage. It's just quietly eating up 20, sometimes 30% of your entire cloud spend. That is a massive chunk of change that often just flies under the radar.
Okay, but here's the number that should really make you sit up and pay attention. Up to 70% of that huge storage bill can be pure waste. Yep, 70%. We're talking about money you are burning on capacity that you've provisioned just in case. Capacity you're not even using. It's just staggering when you think about it.
So you might be wondering, if it's that big of a problem, why isn't everyone fixing it? Well, it's because trying to optimize storage manually is, frankly, terrifying. I mean, ask any engineer about the time they had to shrink a production database disk. You'll hear some real horror stories. It is so high stakes, so stressful, that most of the time the decision is just, you know what, let's just leave it. It feels like opening Pandora's box, and nobody wants to be the one to do it.
But what if? What if you could get rid of all that risk, all that manual work? What if there was a way to just automatically match your storage to what you're actually using and do it safely and reliably? Well, that's exactly what we're talking about today. Let's take a look at Cloudshot. Just picture this for a second. A world where you're not constantly second-guessing your provisioning. You're not paying for terabytes of empty space just in case. And you can make these changes with zero downtime and absolutely zero data loss. I mean, that's the dream, right? That's the goal. Okay, now for any security-minded folks out there, a big question is always, how does this thing actually work? And this is super important. Cloudshot is agentless. That means you don't have to install anything on your servers, no extra software, no agents to manage. It just uses your cloud provider's own native tools to do its job, which is a massive win for security and simplicity.
All right, let's pop the hood and see what this looks like in action. We're going to start with the main disk overview dashboard. Think of this as your command center for everything related to storage, your one-stop shop. Just from this one screen, boom, you get instant clarity. You see the total number of machines and disks you're monitoring, your overall storage capacity versus what's actually being used, and this part is huge. You see the savings you're making in real time, plus a forecast for the next 12 months. This isn't just for engineers. This is the kind of stuff you can take straight to your FinOps team to show them the impact. And honestly, this chart just says it all, doesn't it? You can literally see that huge bar of what you paid for shrinking down to that smaller bar of what you actually needed. And that gap between them? Yeah, that's all the money you were wasting, now turned back into real savings.
Okay, so that's the 30,000-foot view. Now let's zoom in and get into the nitty-gritty with the disk monitor. This is where you can really start to see the details, spot problems before they become emergencies, and find those hidden gems for optimization.
Right here, you get a full breakdown of every single disk. Its name, how full it is, what its threshold is, its status, even its growth trend over time. So, for example, you can see right away, this DB primary replica disk is at 95% and it's trending up fast. That is a P1 incident just waiting to happen, and you've just spotted it ahead of time. And what this all boils down to is that you're not flying blind anymore. You're not operating on gut feelings or what someone remembers from 6 months ago. You're not just tacking on 100 gigs because it feels right. Every single decision is backed by actual data, real trends, and what's happening right now.
Okay, so having all this visibility is awesome, but now we get to the real engine of this whole thing, the automation. This is where the magic really happens. This is where you get to set the rules and tell Cloudshot how to manage your storage for you.
And the control you get here is just fantastic. You can set a big, broad rule for your entire subscription. Something like, hey, just make sure everything has at least 20% free space. Easy. But then you can drill down and get super specific for a key resource group. Like, for this database cluster, I always want 100 gigs free. And you can even go down to a single VM and say, this little utility server, just lock it at 30 gigs and leave it alone. So you get both that high-level control and that super fine-grained tweaking.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Automation sounds great, but is it safe? And that is absolutely the right question to ask. Handing over the keys to your disk infrastructure is a big deal. So let's walk through exactly how Cloudshot makes these changes with zero risk.
So let's take a classic nightmare scenario. A critical disk is about to fill up at 2 a.m. Instead of your pager going off, here's what happens. Cloudshot sees the disk cross that threshold you set. It automatically calls the Cloud API to expand the disk, live. Then it extends the file system so the server can see the new space and logs that everything was success. And you just keep slipping. No downtime, no panic.
Now, shrinking a disk, that's a whole different ballgame. It's way more delicate, and this is where the safety-first approach is absolutely critical. It's not just a simple resize. First, it takes a full snapshot backup. Then it creates a new, smaller disk and copies all the data over. And here's the most important part. It validates that the data is perfect before it does anything else. Only after that check passes does it swap in the new disk, and it even keeps the old disk around for a bit just as a safety net. Your data is never at risk.
So, with all this automation happening, how do you keep track of it all? Well, that's what the execution history is for. It's your complete audit trail. You can see every single job that ran, if it worked or not, and how much money it saved you. You get a full drill down to answer the what, where, when, and why for every single action. Total transparency.
So let's just wrap this up. What we're really talking about here is hands-free disk management. You get the automation you want, but with the complete visibility and safety you need to be able to trust it. You set the guardrails, and Cloudshot takes care of the driving.
So what does that actually mean for your day-to-day? It means no more outages because a disk filled up. You get that automatic expansion right when it's needed.
It means you stop burning money on oversized disks. You get that safe, automated shrink process that's constantly finding savings and putting that cash back in your budget, all without risking your data.
And finally, it means you can trust the system. Every action is fully auditable, so you have that peace of mind and the control you need to really embrace automation.
So really, the takeaway is simple. It's time to stop overpaying for storage you don't use. You can start optimizing automatically with something like Cloudshot. The days of just guessing on disk sizes and living with that constant fear of running out of space, they can be over. The real question isn't if you should be optimizing, it's how much longer can you afford not to.